We said yesterday the Aggies need a wide receiver in the transfer portal. Well, a really, really good one is coming in on a visit this weekend.
You are Locked On Aggies, your daily podcast on the Texas A&M Aggies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on into Locked On Aggies. I'm your host, Andrew Stefaniak. Thanks for making Locked On Aggies your first listen every single day. And today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Monopoly Go. I admit it, I have a competitive side, and it is a big fan of Monopoly Go, the mobile hit twist on classic Monopoly. So join your friends and download Monopoly Go now, free on the Apple Store or Google Play. We talked about on yesterday's show, ladies and gentlemen, as you everydayers know, what the Aggies need to do in the transfer portal. It opened up on the 16th, and we saw players get in it. Bada bing, bada bang, boom. A ton of players hit the portal quickly. And I kind of had a feeling you were going to see the Aggies go after some offensive linemen, some linebackers, some receivers, maybe some defensive linemen. And that's exactly who they have gone after. But a player that has locked in a visit is KeAndre Lambert-Smith, the leading receiver for the Penn State Nittany Lions last season. 53 receptions, 673 yards, and 4 touchdowns. So he'll be in Auburn later in the week, and then he's going to head down to visit Texas A&M this weekend. I believe he's there. It's like Saturday through Monday or Sunday through Monday, so he'll be here this weekend. A kid who had a really good season, but interestingly enough, he was really, really good to start the year and then kind of fell off toward the end of the year. And our friend Zach over at Locked On Nittany Lions is going to tell you about Lambert-Smith and what happened toward the end of the year, get a little bit more perspective on this talented portal player.
Penn State wide receiver KeAndre Lambert-Smith has officially entered the transfer portal as a graduate transfer. I'm Zach Sako, the host of Locked On Nittany Lions, and Lambert-Smith is in the portal, and he's going to be a sought-after target by many other Power 4 programs. But what exactly are they getting here in Lambert-Smith, who was the leading wide receiver for Penn State? Well, I would argue that was by proxy. Penn State's passing game was not good in 2023, and Lambert-Smith benefited from the fact that he was really one of the only wideouts that Penn State could throw to. However, after a strong start to the season, down the stretch, he completely disappeared. In the final 4 games of the season, including the bowl game against Ole Miss, he logged 2 receptions for a total of 28 yards. He was the number 1 wideout statistically for Penn State. I don't think he can be that at Penn State going into this season or at any other program. You're getting a very capable number 2 or number 3 option, but be wary, you are not getting a number 1. For more information on the transfer portal regarding Penn State players, keep it right here on Locked On Nittany Lions.
So hearing from Zach, that was interesting. And listen, Zach's a well-respected member of our team here at Locked On. That's not sour grapes. I don't want him to be, what he says, I trust. You know what I mean? And I'll tell you this. I think that, what he's saying is, hey, is Lambert-Smith worth wide receiver 1 money in the portal? Here's my thoughts on this. First of all, I think Texas A&M probably has the funds to be able to pay him wide receiver 1 money, even if he isn't the wide receiver 1. I was more excited about Lambert-Smith before I heard Zach talk about it. I'm going to be honest with you. Like, I really trust his opinion. And if he says that, I trust him. So now I watched the tape. As you every day as you're Locked On Aggies know, I trust tape. Tape, I trust more than any human being ever. And the kid's got good tape. He might have disappeared late in the year. Yes, that's true. It's definitely a concern. I'm not saying it's not a concern. It is a concern, but I still think this kid could be a really good player. And you got to remember, if you're able to talk him off the wide receiver 1 money in the portal, I think he could be a guy for this team with the guys you already got. You got Jade Walker. You got Noah Thomas. You got Moose. You have talented receivers. I feel good about Tees. So you've got the players on this roster to where I don't think he needs to be the wide receiver 1. But if he could come in and be a really good wide receiver 2, really good wide receiver 3, that would be awesome. And listen, there's going to be some folks out there that go, Andrew, I love Noah Thomas or Moose or Jade Walker. And not all of them are going to be wide receiver 1. So that means that if you land Lambert-Smith he likely beats one of those 3 players out. And I'll tell you, I think that you have to understand things like that are a good thing. It stinks to have to hurt feelings and bench somebody who is expected to be a starter, but at the end of the day, that's what college football is a business. And there's no friends in business. It's just reality. So if you got to go get a guy like this to overtake somebody, it's a good thing for the roster. So KeAndre Lambert-Smith is a player that Texas A&M is pursuing. We knew after the Jabri Barber injury that they were going to pursue a wide receiver, and they have done that. And from what I've seen, Lambert-Smith is one of, if not the top receivers in the portal right now. So interesting. Go watch the tape on him. Share your thoughts in the YouTube comments. Are you with Zach that, he's a good player, but is he a little bit overhyped, a little bit overvalued? Let us know those thoughts in the comments. He's a player I would like, but if it's like, okay, if we get Lambert-Smith, we're not going to have enough money to get this defensive tackle and this left tackle, then I'd say, okay, let's go get another receiver with some upside, because I feel good about the 3 starters you got. The question is depth. And then if you get one more legit guy, you feel a lot better about the depth. So that's the number 1 portal player we're discussing right now. But there's 2 more. One set up a visit, one got an offer. The one that set up a visit is Jermaine Lowell from Louisville. I believe I'm saying that right, Lowell, L-O-L-E, but he is a defensive tackle last season, 19 tackles, 1.5 sacks, 1 forced fumble. He's got a visit coming up here soon, 6'3", 310 pounds. Another guy on tape that I like. I like the way that he can plug up the holes. He's pretty good in the run game. He had a run block grade on PFF of 70.7, which is a really solid grade. He had an overall PFF grade of 69.1, which is a very nice grade. So I like this kid. I think you can't have enough. Like I said, defensive line, defensive tackle is a position where, hey, if you want to go get one more guy, I'm not going to be upset about it. I don't think you need to go get 50 million people. I think it would be 1, maybe 2, but I'd be fine with 1. I feel good about the defensive line, as y'all know. I really like this defensive line. I think it's been one of the best defensive lines in all college football. Same as we said last year. I know you lost some talent with Walter Nolan, Fadil Diggs, but you bring in some guys like Nick Scordon, Cashius Howell. So you have some legit dudes on this team. So that's a name to pay attention to. He could fill a hole at defensive tackle. A big dude, like I said, 6'3", 310, played in the ACC last year at Louisville. So he's a guy who's played Power 4 football, which we have to say now, which is so weird. But he's been there. He's done that. He's a guy I wouldn't mind adding to this roster. Then the next guy is Savion Washington. He's listed some places at 6'8", 320 pounds, but he lists himself on X at 6'9", 325 pounds, which once again, it's a very nice height. It's a very nice weight for a player of his stature. I mean, this dude was at Colorado last year, started 9 games for the Buffaloes, and primetime Deion Sanders. He had an overall PFF grade of 65.4, a pass block grade of 69.1, and a run block grade of 64.5. So, once again, some nice numbers. He's a kid. I'll tell you this about offensive line. This is my opinion. Played a few years offensive line in my heyday, and I'll tell you this. If you get a player that, and I say it a lot, I know some folks don't like this analogy, but I'm going to say it. You got that dog in you. You can coach the details of offensive line. What you can't coach is that mentality of, I am going to put you onto the floor and stomp your head like that. You have to have that, I'm going to kill you. And it's funny, if you've ever met offensive linemen, they're always the nicest dudes off the field, but then on the field, like, you don't want to mess with them because they'll like grab you by the helmet and throw you across the field. That's how you want your offensive lineman to be. And Washington, watching tape on him, I mean, a big dude. You want to talk about, that is an SEC offensive tackle, 6'9", 325 pounds. Yes, please give me all of that height and weight, and let's see what happens. Maybe Coach Cushing and Coach Elko are watching the tape and they're going, okay, I mean, I see it. I see the upside, but yeah, is he for us? I don't know. I simply look at this and I go, hey, figure out how to make him good. If he's that big, figure out how to make him good. And I'm not saying that offensive line, that yes, that stuff matters. The details, okay, are we double teaming up to the linebacker? What are we doing here? Do we got a stretch right? Are we running some kind of screenplay we got to get out. You got to know the intangible details. You got to have the footwork. You got to have quick feet, strong hands. You got to be able to play the position. I'm not saying you don't have to be able to do that, but at his size, if he doesn't know how to play it, which he does at Washington State, but if he doesn't, teach him, because he will be really good if you can teach him those little details. So Texas A&M's reached out to a lot more players than just these three, but of the names that I've seen floating around today, these are the names I'm most excited, because I think you need a defensive tackle, I think you need a receiver, and you need an offensive tackle. And these three players would be solid additions to Texas A&M's roster ahead of next season. We got a lot of fun stuff today on the show, ladies and gentlemen. I've got some bold predictions for the spring game. I want to read some quotes from Trey Zune, from Terry York, and from Coach Elko. And then I've got my thoughts on the spring game rosters we'll run through. We'll talk about all that coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. But I want to tell you about our friends over at Yahoo Finance. Let's get straight to the point. You want to grow your portfolio to deal with the rising costs of inflation, to pay off your debt or your mortgage. Pretty much anything standing in the way of you and financial freedom, right? With Yahoo Finance, you can get access to the news, data, and tools that you need in order to help reach that financial freedom. For more than 25 years, Yahoo Finance has been the brand behind every great investor. Whether you're a seasoned investor or are looking for extra guidance, Yahoo Finance gives you all the tools and data you need in one place. They are the #1 finance destination, producing a holistic look at the financial news cycle, including breaking news, original editorial perspectives, analyst ratings, independent research, customizable charts, and so much more. For comprehensive financial news and analysis, visit the brand behind every great investor, yahoofinance.com. The #1 financial destination, yahoofinance.com. Once again, that is yahoofinance.com. I've got some bold predictions. And I think one is bold, and I've kind of said this, but I want another chance to explain what I meant. So my #1 bold prediction is that Marcel Reed outplays Conner Weigman. Okay, now hear me out. And first of all, I want to address this once again. I have a listener who was commenting the other day saying that I have a narrative where I'm kind of anti Jalen Henderson, which I want to continue to reiterate. It's not a narrative. It's my opinion. And if you listen to the show, I love Jalen Henderson. He's a great player. I just like the other two guys more. It's no disrespect to him. I just think that I would rather have Marcel Reed moving forward. If one of those two guys was going to enter the portal, Marcel Reed or Jalen Henderson, I would prefer it be Jalen Henderson. That's just my opinion, and I might be wrong. I don't know. But my point here is I don't have a narrative against Jalen Henderson. I just like Marcel Reed better, and I like Conner Weigman more than I like Marcel Reed. So that's my take on it. And listen, he could come out and play great, and I will eat my words, and that's fine. I hope so, because all that means this quarterback room is as deep as we think it's going to be. But so no, I don't have any kind of anti-Henderson narrative here. I think he's a great player, but I think Marcel Reed's going to outplay Conner Weigman, and I want to explain what I mean by that, because I don't think it's going to be like college football fans love the backup quarterback. Let's be honest. We've all been there. Your starter has a bad game and you go, man, Marcel Reed, he's looking pretty good on the bench. I think you should give him a shot here. You know what I mean? And so this is what I'm saying. Let's say Marcel Reed and Conner Weigman go out and play the exact, pretty much same game. I think a lot of people are going to be like, we got to give Marcel Reed a shot. I think he might win the job. If they play the same, I think you're going to – now, if Marcel Reed – I think there is a world where he completely outplays Weigman, and I do think Weigman wins the job, and I think he's the better quarterback. But, these – I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not saying Weigman's not going to try, but these opportunities, these spring games are more important for players like Henderson and Reed than they are Weigman. That's just the reality. I'm not saying he's not going to try, because he obviously is. He's out there. He's still competing for this job, and he knows that. But I have a weird feeling that Marcel Reed's going to maybe outplay Weigman in this game. And it might not be literally, it might be, okay, they play about the same, but the fans are like, man, do you see Marcel Reed? He was slinging it. He looked really good. He looked good moving in the pocket. He found a lot of open receivers. It might be that. That's kind of what I'm getting at here. So that's something to pay attention to. And I hope I'm wrong because, as you all know, I'm a huge Conner Weigman guy, and I think he's going to be a great quarterback this year. But I'm also a huge Marcel Reed is the future guy. So if the future comes early, and we're in some sort of Terminator 2 situation, let's see it. You know what I mean? Let the record show I've never seen Terminator 2. I don't even know what that reference was. That was one of those you just said it. Yeah, what happens? But I'm excited to see these quarterbacks compete, folks. I really am. I think this is going to be fun. I think Marcel Reed's a dog. I think Conner Weigman's a dog, and I think Jalen Henderson's a dog. And let's be honest. While I'm a huge Conner Weigman fan, it would be so fun to see all three of these guys compete to the very last minute for the quarterback job. So that's my first bold prediction. I'm really excited to see how this pans out. My next one is I think that Scooby Williams is going to go crazy. I just, the more I'm hearing about Scooby Williams, the more I am buying into him as linebacker 2 next to Terran York. I'm just hearing more good things. I love the SEC experience. I love the fact that he has played in the SEC environments. He's played in the big games, in the big moments. He knows this defensive system, that Bateman runs. And of course, Bateman and Elko will have, share their opinions, both of them on defense. But I'm buying more and more into Scooby Williams every second of every day. So I now want to talk a little bit about the offensive line, and I have a negative bold prediction. And I didn't want to have to make a negative bold prediction, but I'm going to be honest with you. And that's why I'm so excited about one of the players that we've offered in Savion Washington from Colorado. But I have a feeling we're going to leave this game a little bit concerned about the offensive line. And we're getting ready to go discuss the rosters for the spring game. And remember, it's going to be hodgepodge groups of offensive line. It's not going to be your legit starting 5. But I think we're going to see some guys get beat, and we're going to go, ooh, that didn't look good. Now, and it's funny, Coach Elko has a quote about this, which I'll probably end up reading. But he talked about how in a spring game, you're like, oh, great. Look at Nick Scorton. He got to the quarterback. It's a sack. And you go, ooh. Oh yeah, but he made Zune look silly. You know what I mean? It's like it's a give and take. If your defensive line looks good, your O-line can look bad. If your running backs are running right through your linebackers, you go, oh man, the running backs look good. Oh, but the linebacker, you know what I mean? It's kind of like that. So I just have a feeling we're going to end up leaving this football game, this spring game, a little bit concerned about the offensive line. And when I say concerned, I don't think it's going to be, you got to remember, Bryce Foster's not going to be out there. I don't think it's going to be long-term concerned. I think it's going to be, the coaching staff sees the issues at offensive line, and we're going to fix them via the portal, as we've already seen as they've reached out to Washington from Colorado, the huge offensive tackle. So that's another bold prediction of mine. My next one is I think Cashius Howell might show out. So obviously I've talked a lot about Cashius Howell. I forget how many sacks he had last year at Bowling Green. Was it 9.5? Whatever. It was right around double digits with Scorton. I think we know who Scorton is. I think we know what he's going to do in this game. We feel pretty confident about that. But Cashius Howell, when it comes to the players coming off the edge, he is a bit of a wild card. And I'm anxious to see what he does. I think he's really good, but he's one of those players where it's like, okay, lower level guy. Is it going to translate to the SEC? That's what I need to see happen. And if that does translate to the SEC, oh goodness. Can you imagine Scorton and him? If Howell ends up being the player that we think he can be, can you imagine the nightmares? Quarterbacks are going to go to bed on Friday night, and they're going to wake up and they go, oh, Nick Scorton, oh, Cashius Howell, oh, please help me. They're going to wake up like that every single day. So, or on game day. That's what I'm saying. That's if Cashius Howell ends up being as good as we think he can be, opposing quarterbacks are going to literally wake up in a pool of sweat shaking because of the thought of this Texas A&M defensive line, especially with the guys you got on the interior of that defensive line. Oh, goodness gracious. If Cashius Howell is good, Texas A&M might have the best defensive line in college football. That is a serious statement. So I really hope he shows up in this game. And if he shows up in this game, we're going to be really excited about the future with him and what he's looking like. So I'm excited about that. We're going to talk a little bit about the spring roster and perhaps read a couple quotes from Coach Elko and some of the players coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. But first, I want to tell you about our friends over at Monopoly Go. We've all been there, either as a player or a fan. It's halftime and the scoreboard is not looking good. You're feeling low, not sure you or your team can pull out a win. That's when you dig deep, lift your head up, and say to yourself, time to get back in the game, pull off some bank heists, and take as much of my friends' money as I possibly can. That's right, the smash hit mobile game Monopoly Go lets you compete with your friends to get the most riches and the biggest empire. It's the Monopoly you love, but on your phone anytime with tons of new twists, including leaderboards to compare your progress to your buddies. There's so much to do. Play on countless dynamic Monopoly boards, make your friends bankrupt by smashing their landmarks with a wrecking ball, charge other players rent for your iconic properties. You can even work with your friends to crack open community chests and in tournaments to get extra rewards and climb the leaderboard. So get back out there, put your game face on, and download Monopoly Go. Now, free on the App Store and Google Play. So let's go through this spring game roster and talk a little bit about what these teams look like and how we feel. So the first team, the Maroon team, and this is Trey Zuhn's team. So your quarterbacks on that team are Jalen Henderson and Marcel Reed. Your running backs, Le'Veon Moss, EJ Smith are on the team. And I'm only reading, the dudes on the team. At receiver, Trey Zuhn's receivers are pretty darn good. You got Moose, Jade Walker, and Noah Thomas. Tight end, you've got Theo. You got Garrett Miller and Trey Watson. I haven't seen an update on Watson. I saw he was banged up. I haven't seen an update on if he's going to play or not. Then a kicker, you got old Randy. Offensive line, of course, Trey Zuhn's going to play for his own team. Then you got Demetrius Crownover. You got Basantis. You got Funk, Mark Naboo. You got Cam Dewberry, and I don't believe he's playing. I think I saw. Yeah, he's not partaking in spring. I need to double check that. We'll talk about that tomorrow on the Friday show, breaking down, okay, who's going to be in there, who's going to be out there. On the defensive line, you've got Regis, you got Samu, you got Nick Scorton, you've got Solomon Williams, and then Anai White and Brunlo Dindy. And I'm pretty sure both of them are banged up too. I need to double check who's in, who's out. I know that I'm pretty sure, because that's funny. I forget who was banged up and who was completely out for the spring. I need to double check on that. But so that is Trey Zuhn's team. Oh, no, we got DB. Actually, I lied to you. And then at linebacker on that team, you got Damian Sanford, who we've talked a lot about. We're excited to see. And then at the defensive back, you got BJ Mays, Donovan Saunders, Dalton Brooks, Jared Kerr. You got Bravion Rogers, Bobby Taylor, Des Ricks, who is also banged up. We need to get some status on him. That is Trey Zuhn's team. And then you've got Terry York's team. Terry York, he has Conner Weigman. At running back, he's got Reuben Owens, Amari Daniels. At tight end, he's got Jaden Platt, which I'm really excited to see how that dynamic works there. At receiver, he's got Cyrus Allen, Micah Tease, and then Isaiah Williams. So the receivers there are going to be a little bit interesting. We're going to see a lot about what a Tease and Allen have to offer in this game, which I'm actually excited about because, when I first read the rosters, I went, man, you've got like legit dudes at wide receiver on Zuhn's team. And then on York's team, we forget about Allen and Tease, but then you go, oh, how are they going to be there? So that's something to pay attention to in this game. Then at the offensive line, you've got Armaj Reed Adams, who we've heard a lot of good things about. You've got TJ Shanahan. You've got Hunter Erb. So it's going to be interesting. Offensive line is going to be interesting there. It's clear that Zuhn put a foot down on, hey, I'm going to have a good offensive line. And then it's funny because I think York said, hey, I'm going to have a good linebacker room. He's got himself, Scooby Williams, Chance Johnson, and then Tristan Jernigan. DB in this room, or defensive line, you've got Rodas Johnson. The transfer, you got DJ Hicks, you got Cashius Howell, Shamar Stewart. And then on that team, Kendall Jackson, Shamar Turner, talented group up there, talented front seven for this team. And then your DBs, Willie, Javon Thomas, Bryce Anderson, Marcus Ratcliffe, who we've heard a lot about, Jaden Hill, Tariq Chappelle, and Jordan Pride. So pretty stacked defense for York's team. And then it's funny, aside from, Weigman, Cyrus Allen, Tees, and Platt, and Ruben Owens and Daniels, you go, oh, this offense, the depth will be a question mark there. But this is going to be a fun game, ladies and gentlemen. I'm really excited about it. And once again, we're not going to overreact. We're not going to underreact. We are going to properly react to what takes place in this spring game. I'm really excited about it. It's going to be a ton of fun to watch this ball game. So I'm excited about it. Can't wait to break it down. On Saturday, we'll do a little post-game thing, either Sunday morning or Saturday afternoon. I'm excited. I'll let you all know that tomorrow. And then tomorrow, I'm going to give you my MVPs. I'm going to predict MVPs. We're going to break down Texas A&M series on the baseball field. We'll read some quotes. We have a ton of fun stuff coming up on tomorrow's show, and I am looking forward to it. I hope everybody has an outstanding rest of their day today. It's almost the weekend, ladies and gentlemen. Push on through. We got this. Appreciate y'all being here. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Hit the like button on YouTube. Tell a friend. That helps too. Word of mouth marketing, baby. Tell a friend. That'll always help. I appreciate it. Everybody have a great rest of your day, and we will see you tomorrow.